Here I am. I'm colorful too. Yeah, and I made that. I made this shawl. I like the colors that it ended up with. So, welcome, people. I'm not totally well yet, but I'm definitely on the road to recovery, and my voice is back, which is incredible considering I lost it for about 2 weeks. Almost exactly, actually. I guess it was 2 weeks ago, right after our last live show, that my voice started to leave and then stayed gone until day before yesterday. So that was a pretty significant amount of time. It was pretty funny though too. Every time I tried to say something, Ian's like, "I can't hear you," and he'd have to come up right to me to find out what I was talking about. So we got a few people on. Hey. Yes, I am definitely feeling better. Thank you very much. And hi, Marco. I have a couple of questions that people sent in various forms, some via email, some on the responses, comments, or whatever on our videos. So, and I thought it was interesting that several of the questions were about dreams. See, April says, "I'm glad you are feeling better. I was worried about you. Glad you're back." Yes, I was worried about me too. That was definitely not a very good place to be in, and it was very scary in a lot of ways, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So this one got me pretty good. I'm glad it wasn't COVID, but it was some nasty bacteria that decided it liked my lungs. So it's gone now, or mostly gone. So yay. So there were a couple of different questions about dreams. I thought that'd be a good one to start off with, since dreams are something most of us experience on a regular basis. Looks like Ian's going to have to leave. He's starting a coughing fit because he's still in the midst of getting rid of this. So it's just me and you guys. One of the questions was, how can you tell if you're in a dream? And so that would be lucid dreaming. Being able to tell that you're in a dream when you're dreaming it is what they call lucid dreaming. And one of the ways you can program yourself to be able to wake up in a dream is to do something during the day that is a normal activity. Like if you have a watch and you look at the watch to see what time it is, you can say, "Am I dreaming?" when you look at the watch, or when you're going through a door and you're opening a door to go through the door, you can say, "Am I dreaming?" as you go through the door. Any kind of everyday type of activity, and that will actually sort of plant that in your subconscious so that when you are dreaming and you do that activity in a dream, like look at your watch or go through a door or look at a clock or look at your phone or whatever, you'll ask that question, "Am I dreaming?" And if you are dreaming, then you'll become aware of the fact that you are in fact in a dream state. So that would be how you do that. And it takes practice like everything else. Person wanted to know why some people can't read words or numbers or dream in color. And I think that's just a matter of people's brains working in different ways. Some people are just better dreamers. They're more aware of their dream reality, and everyone's mind and brain is going to be a little bit different. So if you dream in color and someone else doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with them, because that's the norm. It just means that you get to dream in color, and that's cool. So I wouldn't worry about it. So then someone wants to know how you know if someone is contacting you during a dream state. So during a dream state, it's not as easy to tell if it's an outside force or an inside force. So that's one of those things that there's a feeling that comes when someone is actually there in your dream. If you are aware of the fact that you're dreaming and you can sense the difference between like you being a character in a dream and someone actually being themselves in the dream. And it can happen. It's not that common, but it does happen. I've told you guys about some of my dream experiences where I've actually gone into someone else's dream or had shared dream experience, and to find out what was going on, and to help figure out, like with my daughter and her nightmares, or the accidental one with my son and the flying lessons on the moon. And for me, it's like dreams have got a specific feel when they're just regular dreams and a different feel when they're significant dreams. I've sometimes had past life memories come up in dreams. I had that happen with my second husband, discovered why we were together in this life and what had happened in that one. And it was just a very detailed piece of information. So it's practice is how you know. And if it's a negative thing where someone is trying to be in your dream in order to cause havoc or make you afraid or something like that, then you can rely on your magical ability, your practice with pentagrams or whatever other protection things that you do, and you can create them in the dream in order to make the person exit the dream. Tia says, I have a weird trick to tell if I'm dreaming. I go to the closest bookshelf and pick up a book. If the inside is blank, I'm dreaming. Yeah, that goes along with a person who says that most people can't read in their dreams, and apparently they can read in a dream. So that would work for you, but it wouldn't work for the person who regularly reads in a dream. So that's the thing about knowing your own dreamscape and how it works and how it functions and what is normal for your dream experience, because all of our brains are wired slightly differently. So let's see. Cherry Blossom says, good to see you, Siofra. I wanted to suggest putting information about the subjects discussed in the title. Well, I never know for sure what the subjects are going to be. I enjoy listening to Siofra and want to learn more, but sometimes we look for certain subjects and it would be extremely helpful if that was mentioned in the title. Either way, I'm grateful. Considering the fact that the live shows, it depends upon what people ask and where we end up with, I can't actually put the description in the title because I don't know what the subjects are going to be until you guys get online and start asking me your questions, and you sort of lead the show when it comes to that. We've occasionally done a show on a specific subject, and we might do that again, and then I put that in the title. So, sorry. It's just one of those things. And again, with the questions, it depends on what kind of questions people ask. Somebody was asking about music and ritual and how that works if you're on your own, and is it just for group of people, and sound and how sound affects the body. So I brought along my singing bowl. This is my singing bowl. I don't know how this translates through the microphone, so that could be interesting. So singing bowls are kind of a fascinating construction because they figured out how to mix several different metals together in order to create tones, and each size bowl has its own tone. I ended up with this one because it's the first one I found in a store that I could actually play. For some reason, I can't always get singing bowls to work. And sound is definitely an important component to working with energy and with your own body, and it affects us. My mother is a harpist, for example, and back east they discovered that the sound of the harp in person affects the human body and how it functions. It was a woman in Boston, I think, who first got that going and convinced a friend of hers who worked in a preemie ward in the hospital to get her permission to go into the preemie ward and play the harp for the infants. And when she finally was able to go in there, they discovered that her playing the music in person made the preemies breathe better, gain weight faster, calm them down. And so there was a direct correlation between the sound waves from the harp going through their little bodies and affecting their systems and how they functioned. So that was pretty interesting. And then they started experimenting with that. They tried, recorded music, which isn't the same. It didn't have any effect whatsoever on the preemies. It's only the actual sound wave. And if you think about that, a recording isn't producing the same sound wave pattern. It's replicating it in a way that you can hear it, but it's not the actual sound wave from the instrument that you're experiencing. And sound waves travel through the air and they do their thing, and then they travel through the body that they're, where you happen to be experiencing it. And so then it resonates with different parts of your physiology. And because of this discovery, they started experimenting with finding out what tones and series of tones did to people. So they figured out what sounds work to raise or lower the blood pressure, calm the nervous system, and do various other things. And my mother actually took a 2-year course in learning how to play the harp for people who were sick. And apparently it's quite a certification process back east. Not something I know personally much about, but, hello, Violet. So it's the singing bowls from Tibet were clearly designed for resonating with the human spirit and the human body. And there's no reason why that can't affect your chakras. There's some people in my area that actually have, you can go to an event where they play the different sizes of the singing bowls and help them resonate with your form. I'm not sure about all the specifics because I just have my one little bowl, but I know that the principle is sound and it's definitely a real thing. So there's nothing wrong with experimenting with that and finding out how it works for you. So I would assume that the larger the bowl, the lower the sound, and the lower the sound, the more effect it will have on the lower chakras and those systems that are associated with them. So it sort of probably would naturally progress upward, and the smaller the bowl, the higher the sound would affect the upper chakras and that kind of thing. Seeking says, hello everyone, greetings from Pensacola Beach, Florida. Yay. Hello from Florida. So, let me see here. So incorporating music, sound, drums, and song into ritual is an experimental process. When I was in a group, one of the groups I was in, I discovered drummers just really like to drum a lot, but they're difficult to control in a ritual setting if your purpose is to raise energy and then release that to do something particular. If you're trying to raise a cone of power, drums can help a lot with that, but only if the people who are drumming are also aware of the changes in energy and are willing to stop drumming at the right time. Because in order for that to work, you have to, you build up that power and you build up that bass and you keep on making it faster and faster and louder, and the other people in the group are building up the energy and focusing their concentration and on the purpose of what the energy is being raised for, and you want to raise it up to get to the pinnacle, the apex of that, and then you want to release it. So I think that drumming by yourself would probably be more controllable, because if you're aware of the energy and how it moves and such, and you can feel it building up, then you'll be better able to stop it at the right point and allow that energy to release, no matter what you're building the energy for. I mean, if you're building it for healing, or you're building it for helping somebody else, or you're building it to help the environment, whatever it happens to be, that's the whole point of the cone of power, is to build it up and then release it and let it go, and then ground the energy back out. So with songs, though, there's nothing wrong with singing by yourself, I don't think. I have a lot of songs that I like that I've learned in the beginning. It was sort of like way back when. And so I would, sing my songs in the bath or in the ritual, and just sort of immerse myself in the words and the energy, trying to raise the energy for what I was doing. A lot of those songs are simple songs, chants, songs to put me in the right mood, frame of mind, to think about why I'm there and what I'm doing, to call in the goddess energy and the god energy and that kind of thing. It's wonderful when you can do it with a group of people, and especially if you can do harmonies and rounds and stuff like that and get all these different voices going at the same time. It's just a hard to explain, marvelous little experience for that. And someone wanted to know what my favorite pagan musicians were, and I don't know very many at this point because I haven't been focused on that. Somebody introduced me to Damn the Bard, I think is his name, and I've listened to a few of his things, and I liked what I heard quite a bit. I've heard some other songs online that I've liked a lot, but I don't remember who they are. I'm terrible at names. But like I said, most of the songs that I sing and am familiar with, some of them I got from Starhawk's books. She has a group of songs, I think it was in the Spiral Dance in the back, and, I learned and sang those songs. And then songs that I was taught by other groups at different events. And I should put together, just a little song thing so you can know what the songs I have are, but not right after being sick. But, anything that helps you to focus and concentrate your attention in a specific direction that you're trying to go is a useful magical tool. That's kind of the way that is. So, okay, making sure we're still running. I think I've answered. Oh, there's one more question in here about water magic and protecting the integrity of charged water. Now, water magic is something that I do a fair bit of. You can put things in the water, in the element of water, to sort of send them out to the unconscious, or just to the water element itself. I don't do that much charged water like moon water and that kind of thing, because it's just a new thing that's been going on for the last few years, and I really haven't seriously gotten into it, because there's always other things that I can do, and if I need some charged water, I sort of charge it up on the fly. So that's the way that goes. So somebody says, do you say thank you or I'm sorry to Faye, or do you believe, like most, that it's rude or agreeing to a contract with the Faye? Also, do you leave offerings or oh my when you are in contact with them? Or any, I think. My attitude towards the Fae is different from the standard. I don't think that they care about the human language all that much. So I don't think that saying thank you or is making a contract with them. That's not how spirit contracts work. I think appreciating them for what they've done is never a bad idea. Whenever I harvest a plant, I always thank the spirit of the plant and give an offering of some kind, even if it's just a thank you, to the land and to the energy of the spirits that are making the land fertile enough for me to grow something. I saw someone online a few, like in the middle of the week, who was talking about they thought the fairies had given them like a gift. It was something they'd never seen before. It just sort of appeared, and they weren't sure what to do with it, and they were afraid to touch it. They thought maybe they had to give it back. And when I read that, all I could see were very disappointed fae who worked really, really hard to move something and create something special for this person, to have it not appreciated and basically thrown back. So, there's a lot of different kinds of spirits out there. And definitely your attitude towards them is going to make a big difference. Like with everything else, you need to be sensible. So, I wouldn't be going out there and, trying to just sort of do whatever. Ian thought he could come in and he had his coughing under control, and then it started up again, so now he's back out the door. I think politeness is always a good thing when it comes to dealing with spirits. And yeah, I have a difficult time understanding that whole attitude as if it's a hard and fast rule. It's like language is human. Fae doesn't have language like we have language. When you're communicating with a spirit, you're doing it through your thoughts and your energy and your feelings. So I don't see why saying thank you is a bad thing. If you're worried about it, don't do it, I guess. But, it's like if we're thanking the universe for the food that we eat, are we not thanking the Fae? Because they're the ones behind it. They're the reason why the food grows in the first place. And they're the force of nature that helps things along and moves things towards that. So I'm not sure why they have such a distinct and negative category, considering that they are part of life. It confuses me. I have to admit, I don't understand it, and I've never had a negative experience with them. I mean, I've had them be funny, or think I'm funny, or whatever, because, we're human and they're different, and they think we look funny. But that's no different from meeting any other kinds of creature out there who may not understand human interactions. And if you're going to be out in the wilderness, whatever the wilderness is, it behooves you to pay attention to the signals that you get from that wilderness. And, if they have chosen you, if the Fae have decided that you are a friend to them for one reason or another, and they give you something, that should be an honorable thing, that is a special place that they have shown to you directly, that they value who you are and what you're doing. And yeah, that's about the only thing I can think of to say about that, because the question comes up fairly often. So Violet says, is the license to depart always a must? Is there another way to word it, maybe? Oh, wait, I missed one. Someone says, how do you put your stones on your wands? With just copper, or do you use adhesive? Also, thank you for answering my questions. Well, you're welcome. It depends on what I'm doing. I use both adhesive and wire. It just depends on the wand that I'm making, what feels right. I don't see that there's a problem with adhesive. I don't think it interferes with the ability of the stone to function energetically. I've certainly never seen any of my tools become less powerful because I put some glue under a stone when I put the stone in. Some of them I like to inset, so I dig a hole, a Dremel tool, a hole out or a depression out, and then fit the stone into it, especially with faceted stones. My solar wand has a couple of those, or I have a faceted topaz that I put in there, and I didn't think it would last if it was sticking out. And so, you just sort of use your best guess when it comes to that. I use whatever means seems right at the time. I like the wire wrapping for some of them, especially if I'm using beads. And I have a lot of different types of crystals and stone beads and stuff. And if there's a bead with a hole in it, it makes it really easy to just stick a copper wire through it and then wrap it around to attach it. So if it's like that, that's what I'll do. And if I have a piece of wood like rosemary, for example, which has a lot of natural depressions in the wood, then it makes a natural place to stick the bead because it'll sort of like sink in a little bit on its own and then wrap it that way. So I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. Figuring out how to put the ends on is always the tricky part. And I've done a lot of experimenting with different kinds of wire and different ways of wrapping that wire and using glue to try and solidify it. And on occasion, I've used like a copper tubing because a copper tube is going to be solid, and then I can put the stone inside the tube to fit it in so it's not going to like fall off the end. So really, it just varies. With my staff, I have a large ball on the top of my staff, a big amber ball. And so over the years, I've done different methods to try and get it up there so it wouldn't fall off. And at this point, I have created a copper claw out of wire and then put the ball in the claw and then wired a pentagram on the top of it to hold it in place, because glue won't work for that kind of a ball. It's just like, it just wouldn't work at all. So it's like everything else. You experiment with what you have and see what works, and if it doesn't work, you try something else. It's just a matter of trial and error. So back to Violet. Is the license to depart always a must? Is there another way to word it, maybe? Are you talking about the fairies again? Like when you say thank you or something like that? Let me know before I try to answer that question. Silver Raven says hello. Hello. Desideratum says glad to see you. I hope to develop good friendships with some of the Fae. Why, I have no idea. In my culture, there was a very close relationship with the little people probably for 1,000 years. Yeah, and there's a lot of cultures that have relationships with them. And I think that some of those relationships kind of changed over time. Okay, so Violet says after ritual. So after a ritual with the Fae. I mean, when I'm saying goodbye to things, it's like, stay if you will, go if you must, hail and farewell. Is that what you're talking about? Violet, let's see, Ophelia says, what is your greatest protection magic technique? Any ritual. The rules make me give up before I start. All right, all right, so with Violet, the question about how you say goodbye at a ritual. So if you start a ritual inviting the forces in, then you end a ritual with allowing the forces to leave. That's just sort of like, it's sort of a way of framing whatever it is that you're doing so it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the reason for doing that is just so the forces that you're working with know that you are completed with what you're doing. And, a lot of times we use that phrase, stay if you will, go if you must, hail and farewell, because, we're acknowledging the fact that we called in, say, the elements in the beginning of the ritual. When same with the deities, the god and the goddess, or whatever, thank them for being there and having their presence there and letting them know that they don't have to pay attention to us anymore. And that's basically what it is. You're letting them know that they can now turn their attention to something else and they don't have to pay attention to what you're doing. The reason for starting a ritual in the first place with that kind of stuff is to let them know, hey, something really cool is about to happen. We're going to be doing some magic here, and it would be really nice if you would help us out and participate. And, that's the ringing of the bells, the drawing of the circle, the calling of the elements, the invitation of the deities, the cleansing of the self, is all to prepare your space, inner and outer space, in into a separate reality. It's like you're creating an alternate version of what's going on around you that coexists in the spirit world as well as the physical world, and then the two can meet together. I often describe that as like an air dock, like a pressure dock or something like that in a spaceship or between atmospheres or what have you. You have to, like, balance things out to the point where both parties can breathe and are comfortable in the environment. And so as the practitioner, it's your job to create the atmosphere that's conducive to the beings or the forces that you're inviting to come in, so that they can be as present as possible and work with you. So it's a cooperative effort when it comes to that. So when you're finished, you need to close that door again. You need to change that atmosphere back. One of the main reasons for doing that is for yourself and your own health, because by closing that door and changing the atmosphere back, then you can ground yourself and not be sort of stuck off in the ether in your mind and not being able to focus on what you need to do and being distracted and out of your body and all the other things that can happen with that. So it's for your safety more than it is for their I'm not sure what the word is. It's not like a politeness thing, just a politeness thing. It's more so that you have like I said, a beginning, a middle, and an end, because you don't want to just be all over the place when you do something, and that would be the purpose of that. My greatest protection magic technique. Let me think. Probably my personal shield and light energy. Being in the right frame and the right space of mind. When I was going through this illness and someone told me I was under psychic attack, I actually decided to take that seriously and pulled out all stops, and I used every wand I had and all of my tools and set up my bedroom in such a way that it would be active the whole time I was in there, because I really needed some sleep. And then Ian created a shield for me out of a garnet that I gave him that would block out any negative energy completely. And so as if it was out of its silk pouch. And so I have been taking that out at night before going to bed. I think the best protection is your attitude and knowing that you have the authority to not allow certain things to happen. But when I was sick, my defenses were down because of not being able to think straight and the weird things I was seeing and going on in my head and everything else. So I needed some external assistance at that time, which is why I used all of my wands. And I have them still spread out around my room right now doing their thing and bringing in the forces, which is one of the reasons why I'm glad I made them. Because then when I needed them, they were there and I could just pull them out and have them do their thing. So, do you know anything about wasp people? No. I've never heard about wasp people. Sounds like one of those old movies, The Attack of the Wasp People. I don't know. They had a bunch of movies like that in the 60s, I think. So Desideраtum says, would be great to learn more about protection when using pendulums. Okay, well, I'm not sure exactly what to do with using pendulums, since I don't use pendulums, because I can't trust my own my subconscious just moves them around too much. But I think that in any divination, whatever kind of divination you're using, the main thing is to be clear inside yourself as much as possible that you want to be centered, grounded, and clear, and not be getting in your own way. If you're going to get a real piece of information that you don't have normal access to, you can't be using your own imagination to get there, because if you do, then you're just projecting your own needs, desires, or fears into the future and then reading that back as a form of divination. So that internal clarity and stillness, I guess, would be a word to describe that, is of vital importance for whatever you're doing. And then being open to the information and not trying to block it if it's something you don't like. It's a process for sure. It's not a simplified thing. It's just everybody does it a little bit differently. So Ophelia says, I'm going through exactly what you are right now. I'm sick as all hell now, so thank you. I'm so sorry that you're sick, Ophelia. It's not any fun at all. So use all of your protections and see a doctor if you need one. I was really glad that I went to see the doctor and he put me on antibiotics because I clearly needed them. Apparently my white blood cell count was through the roof when he did the blood test. So you do what you have to do in order to take care of your health, because without your body you're not going to be getting much done. A kind of interface here. We need to have that. And also, when you're sick and going through that, to remember that whatever's happening is not necessarily real, and that it will pass and you'll get back to a normal mindset at a later date, and then maybe you can look at it later and see if there's anything useful to learn from it. Because I had some very freaky things happen. Some of which I think were real, but most of which were not. So So someone says, can someone attack your Facebook page and be successful? If you're talking about hacking, I have no idea, and I'm sure that I have had my Facebook page hacked more than once, so yes. If you're talking about magical attack, I don't know. I suppose that someone who is nefarious could use the pictures that you have up on your Facebook page to use as a focus to try and get in touch with your energy and send you negative stuff. It's annoying, but there's that. Taylor says, what are your thoughts on the pointed witch's hat? Oh, do you wear one in any rituals or daily life, or is that just something that doesn't resonate with your practice? I love them at Halloween. The theory behind the pointed hat is that actually is supposed to help focus the energy into your brain and make you smarter. The original dunce's cap was for someone who was having difficulty in school, and it was not meant as a punishment originally, although it became that, a laughing stock kind of thing. So, but I have my own pointed witch's hat. I don't wear it all that often. I don't feel I need to. If I'm going to put something on my head, I'm more likely to put different crowns of stones, crystals, and things that I have to bring in specific energy for that kind of thing, rather than a hat. So I guess that's sort of an answer. Michaela says, one showed up in my dream. It was like a wasp with a face, and it flew onto my window and waved. I was just curious if it was because of the peppers I planted. Do wasps like peppers? And was that a real wasp, or was that like an energetic spirit wasp, or I don't know. There's a lot of different things out there I haven't encountered. So Desideratum says, any kind of divination, yes. Thank you, good advice. Ophelia says, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. So, yeah, I think I answered all the questions. I started answering the water magic one. You can use any of the elements for different kinds of magic, so you can place things in them. Or peppers sprouted the next day. Well, awesome. Sometimes there's things we just can't explain because we don't know enough about what's going on, just like, there it is. It may mean something, it may not mean anything. It could just be a fluke. It could be significant. It's one of those things. It's your life. You have to try and figure some of that stuff out for yourself. But wasps, generally speaking, are not associated in a positive way with plants because they kill bees. They don't actually pollinate. So I'm not sure if that means anything there or not. I don't think wasps are pollinators at all, generally speaking. Bumblebees and honeybees and some other types of bees maybe are. And then other insects are pollinators, like caterpillars, and that kind of thing. also will pollinate things. Michaela, that sounds like an elemental visitation. They may help you with your plants. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. So, when you're working with the elements, whichever element you work with, you have to try and remember to be balanced about it. My picture can tap into my energy. Elaborate on this. Well, if someone knows what you look like and they're good at looking through the Akasha and they have your physical attributes, then they can use that to focus on you and who you are and tune into it. I think generally speaking, most people aren't interested in spending that kind of energy doing that kind of thing, but it's theoretically possible. So Sarah says, would you suggest any rituals for dream work? Well, okay, if you're trying to seed your dreams for something specific, if you're trying to get a dream about a certain subject that you're concerned with, then you can seed your dream by putting up certain objects, listening to certain sounds, reading certain kinds of things before going to bed, writing out the question in a dream journal before going to sleep. You can make a mugwort pillow, and mugwort is supposed to be good for helping you dream. And you just, take some cloth and stuff it with mugwort and put it under your pillow. And that's supposed to help with that kind of thing to give you more vivid dreams. You can always cast a circle. Excuse me. More dead stuff coming up. You can make a prayer or a supplication statement to your personal guardians or whatever spirits or deities you're working with to send you a dream. That would be what I would recommend. Let me take a break here for a second. Real railroad spike for protection. Now, is that really the case? And if so, would that mean I'm keeping all Fae from entering? She told me only the bad or not so good Fae will stay away. The whole thing has been messing with me. Okay, are you talking about the idea that the Fae are afraid of iron? Is that the point of the railroad spike? Because it would be made out of iron? Yeah, I know. You only can type a certain number of letters. Okay, I see. It says it up there that iron is the enemy of the Fae. So when I first started working with them heavily, she gave me a real railroad spike. Okay. That's an assumption that people have made, that iron is, evil for Fae. I don't know if it's true or not. I think that if you're using it for the intention of keeping them away, then it would probably work to keep them away. Usually that's how magic works anyway. It's about, your association and your belief in it and projecting that onto the being and so forth and telling them that you don't want them there because you've put this thing that you've decided is bad for them, whether it is or not. They read that message and then they know they're not welcome and then don't want to come around. That's how I would look at it. Yeah, I smoke mullein before bed, and I also made mullein lavender sage calendula tincture I put in my bedtime. It's really helpful to see in my dreams. Yeah, there's probably a lot of different things that you can use to help with dreams besides mugwort. Apparently, putting a piece of selenite under your tongue and letting it dissolve is supposed to give you some pretty vivid dreams. Recommended to do it during a full moon, since selenite is the moon energy. It tastes kind of metallic. I don't think it's dangerous, though. And I wouldn't do too much of it. Or you could dissolve some in some water and then drink the water. It might be easier than actually having it under your tongue. You'd want to have a small piece, though, because it takes a while for it to dissolve. Taylor says, is it normal to not be able to narrow down what gods resonate with you? I feel like I've chosen multiple gods and goddesses through several different mythologies. Well, I have a room full of different deities from a lot of different cultures, so I resonate with that. I consider myself a universalist, and all of my gods get along. And partly I think that's because of remembering past lives where I worked with them, and they remember me from that past life as well. So we have a relationship, a basis that we're starting from. So it's yeah. I'm not worried about it. Some people who are purists think that, you're just not willing to make up your mind and you're being lazy and all this other stuff, but they don't understand what it's like to be an eclectic and have so many past lives that you remember, that the idea of just committing to one certain thing just because of your current bloodline just seems ridiculous and doesn't matter to you. So Violet says, interesting about iron, because I have a very cool piece and I would never wish that message on them. And I actually had one of our long ago coven mates wanted to work with the Fae, and she had a bone knife because she didn't want to have iron. I actually found the bone knife for her and bought it for her because that was what she was looking for. And or you can use shell or something like that. But that's only if you believe that that's the case, and if you've projected that onto them, then that would be the case, kind of thing. So Ophelia says, you're right, it might be confusing to them because I have a huge altar and garden dedicated to the Fae, but then I have this railroad spike she said I needed, and I'm just lost. Well, it's your path. Just because someone tells you you need something doesn't mean necessarily that they're right, because a lot of times people project their own perceptions of what's going on other people, and that's not uncommon. I mean, it's sort of, if she has a specific way of thinking about the Fae and what they are and what they do and what you can expect and what the dangers might be, and she knows you're wanting to work with them, then she is going to superimpose her set of beliefs and experiences onto what you're trying to do, and then tell you that's what you need, because that would be what she would need. But you have to really, if you're going to develop a relationship with them, you need to work it out with them. I don't know how many people know about the Finhorn Garden in Scotland or not, but I recommend looking it up because they have a lot of direct connections with the nature spirits and the Fae when they were growing their garden. And there's also a Conversations with Pan that was made by one of the members of Finhorn that is an absolutely delightful thing to listen to from the fairies' point of view and what they think is going on. And I think that probably has more validity to it as far as the real world of fairies is concerned. And also, of course, the book, The Real World of Fairies by Dora Van Gelder, who actually encountered them directly, and then my own personal experiences with them. It's like, just because there's a theory that says this is the way it is doesn't mean the theory is correct. We used to think a lot of things that we now know aren't true. Like the world is flat, or the sun goes around the earth. Just some basic things that we were totally convinced of were true. So we have to keep an open mind. If we're going to reconnect with these energies that are there, respect is definitely part of the process. I have no doubt about it, because without respect, there's no basis for trust in developing a relationship. But suspicion and expectation of having a negative encounter sort of predisposes us to not having positive encounters. And, I can't imagine how the Fae might think about that if everybody's saying that they're terrible and horrible, and they're always trying to trick us and doing mean things to us, and we're not allowed to accept their presents when they give them to us and everything else. It's like, why should they bother trying to interact with us at all? I'm amazed that they still are interested, considering. It's just that we're part of life as well as everything else. And that's sort of my take on that. I do not, however, believe that they have a real realm that we can travel to. I had someone contact me about that and didn't like my answer, but that's my answer, my perception, that they're not physically real at this point. They may have been a long time in the past, but that's not the case now. So I don't think that a person can travel to their realm and, have interfae marriages. I'm not sure what to call that. Interspecies relations, at least at this point. So, yeah, I could be wrong. That's just my assumption. So let's see. The girl who gave me this actually taught a course on the Fae that I took. After that course, I went my own way, and I actually did a spell to get her out of my life, but the spike still gives me a very bad feeling. Well, maybe it's time to let the spike go. Go bury it somewhere else. Violet says, ooh, in that case, I would get rid of it. Yes, I recently went through my gifts and put them all in the shed. Sometimes people give you things that have attachments to them. There's no doubt about it. Whether they're energetic attachments that they put there on purpose, or whether it's left over from their intent and their energy that no longer is compatible with you. Either way, it doesn't matter. If it's not compatible with you, it's not compatible with you anymore. So Nova says, what's your favorite way to get rid of hard to clear negative energy? We had a horribly dark family member live in one of our rooms for years, and I've cleansed with sage and salt, but no luck. Okay, so cleansing with sage and salt will just get rid of negative energy for a period of time, but you have to actually replace the energy that's in there with something positive. So after you do that, I would put in some obsidian pieces on the floor and have them programmed to draw any negative energy that is still in the room and ground it out into the earth and leave the space altogether. And then I would put in some positive energy crystals like selenite or amethyst, something to bring in light energy and healing energy into the space. I would put some different kinds of incense in there. Sage is good for banishing negative energy, but you might want to use a different kind of incense to pull in positive energy. Any floral, positive kind of smelling incense works. I like sweetgrass. It's my favorite because I have a lot of strong associations with it, and it will pull in positive energy. I would go in there and sing, do some a ritual to cleanse the space and bring in positive energies to it. It's like these things, they don't change on their own, especially if somebody has been negative for a long period of time and you have your associations with that. You need to really go in there and not just cleanse it out, but fill it up so there's no room anymore for that negative energy to linger. And if you still have some kind of relationship with a family member, that can make it more difficult. At least if they're not in your house, then you can do something about it. And I'm not sure why people use salt all the time, because I don't really see the point of the salt. I mean, it is a purification thing, but then it also is damaging to wood. It's damaging to the soil because it's an antiseptic. And it sort of got popularized by Supernatural and other sort of TV shows about the occult and whatnot. And in the old days, they used either salt or rice or anything that has small grain to it, with the idea that a negative spirit for some reason is required to count every little one before they can cross it. So that's why they can't cross a line of salt, is because they always get lost in how many grains of salt that there are, and then they have to start over again. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, it's like, who decided these things? I don't know. But the sage is definitely pretty typical. And also, when you're doing the banishing, not just doing the sage, but you can do like a full-on sweeping out, like if this is your house, right? You take control of your environment, use a broom, go in there and sweep negative energy out of the room and get it out of the house altogether. You can go in there with pots and pans and bang them, and chase the negative out, let them know it's not okay. Then when you're filling it up with positive stuff, you can put in bells or sounds or whatever to bring in positive energy too, changing up the sound. So it's not, it's work. You have to actually work to make it happen. It's not just as simple as deciding that you're going to sage it or salt it and make it go away. In my experience, that only works for a period of time, and then you have to do it again and again and again. So reclaim it. Put some statues in there that you like, or something that you have a real strong positive feeling towards, and claim that space back for yourself and your family. That's what I would do. Okay. Let me get back here. All right, Violet says, otherwise railroad spikes are cool, but when we gifted them by a juju person, let's see. Ophelia says, you guys are right. I think it's cool, but it's definitely holding lingering energy, and it's time to get rid of it. I never should have trusted her. We all make mistakes. Being a trusting person doesn't say anything bad about you. It says something bad about the person that you turned out not to be able to trust. This says more about them, in my opinion. So Taylor says, do you have a video for connecting to your past lives on your page? Or have any recommendations for connecting to them if they don't come freely to you? I haven't done a video on connecting to your past lives because there's dangers involved in connecting to a past life at the wrong time, because you're going to bring forward all the energy of what happened in that life to your current life and have to clear that out. And generally speaking, the ones that you connect to first are not going to be positive ones. They're going to be the ones where horrible things happened to you. And they're not much fun. I was born with two different memories, one positive and one negative. So that was lucky that I had a positive memory to fall back onto. But still, the main point of being here is not to discover who we were before, but it's to figure out who we are now and who we want to be. And sometimes finding out who you were before just sort of short circuits any progress you might make in this life, especially if you tune into something where you thought you did a better job in a past life, and then what? You're going to sit there and praise yourself for having been this great person in the past and just hang out and not do anything in this one? I mean, it generally speaking, it's more of a distraction. It is sort of cool and interesting on some level, but what's the purpose of being in the life if you're trying to find out about not being in this one but being in another one? That's just sort of the way I look at it now, unless it's something specific about what's happening to you now and gives you a reason why. I did a past life regression about my son once because I had this unreasonable reaction to him whenever he came in to the bathroom when I was cleaning the bathroom. I would have this rage that just seemed to come from nowhere. And I needed to find out where this came from, and it came from a past life where he was in charge of me. And a whole bunch of other stuff happened. And that gave me perspective that I needed. So that was a good thing. It gave me perspective on this life and my relationship with my son now, and allowed me to choose a better path of being a parent and realizing that he had put himself in my power. And then it was up to me to decide what to do with that power that I now had over him, where he had the power over me in a previous time. So I'm not completely against it. It's just I don't feel comfortable with just sort of guiding somebody through the possibility of a past life and then end up them on the other end having a traumatic experience that I can't do anything to help because I'm not there and they're just doing this in their own head. So if you're going to do past life regressions, I definitely would recommend finding someone who knows what they're doing. So at least you have a good guide and someone who's there in person who can kind of catch you if you're going down in the wrong direction and help guide you through what you're having and get a perspective of it. Yeah, I guess that's all I have on that one at the moment. Could you please talk about the magical uses of chamomile? Chamomile is really great for the eyes, and I don't know about its magical uses in particular. There's, I'm sure, associations. I think it has some positive associations with health and prosperity, but I'd have to look it up. I don't have all these things in my head. There's too many things. So April says, I know that many things came to you naturally, communicating with other realms, connecting with the Fae, etc. But what are some things you had to consciously develop on your own, practices that could help? Being grounded and clear is definitely one of the things I had to work on my own. When you're born naturally in tune with a lot of other things, it's easy to get completely and totally off track, and learning how to be grounded in this life was the thing I had to work on the most. And now people just automatically, they say that I'm very grounded, which is yay, I'm glad to hear that. But people apparently assume that I was just like this all the time, and I've not. I had to work for this, and I work on it on a daily basis. So it's not, none of these things are things that you can ever stop working on if you want to maintain them as far as it goes. And that's why I put up the Sacred Tree Meditation as one of my very first videos, was because that's one of the ones that helps connect to both the earth and the divine light at the same time and helps create that balance. And when I developed that particular meditation with the group I was with, it became a real powerful and important exercise to do, something I really enjoy a lot. So, and learning how to let go of people and their expectations is something else. Because even though I was born with a lot of special gifts, apparently that came with a whole bunch of people terrified of me and my existence, and was very hurtful to me because I could not understand why people were afraid of me, because I was just being myself. So it's like, yeah. So there's always work to do, always getting more and more into whatever it is we're doing here. Okay, everybody stop talking for a second. I'm in a very tough situation and possibly facing homelessness. She wants to kick me out today. She told me she thinks I'm a monster and she wished I was never born. I'm so sorry. That's a terrible thing to have happen to you. I hope you find somewhere you can go in order to be appreciated for who you are. So I'm not sure how, if there's a way for me to help with that. Is there some kind of yeah. Having family members reject you like that is definitely not any good at all. Hopefully there's like a homeless shelter or some kind of facility or whatever that you can go to. Is there a different family member that you can live with that isn't thinking like that? I mean, that's got to be just about the worst feeling in the universe that I can imagine, where your entire, someone who's supposed to love you rejects you. Of course, that happened to me and to my husband too, so it's not uncommon, unfortunately. People are so stupid when it comes to thinking about what other people are and so forth. So I'm hoping that you find something. We'll try and send you some positive energy for that and survive it. It's a good way to listen and feel different energies, like building up a cone of power. I cannot feel that yet. Well, building up a cone of power is definitely a practice. So Ty says, do you have any advice on connecting to my higher self so I can glean some wisdom and find a solution to the issue? I'm very anxious about the situation. I'm not seeing a clear way out. I can imagine, because this is going to be a very this is a very charged situation, especially with a parent saying things like that to you, which is not okay. The only thing I can think of is if there's other family members or people that you know that are friends. I'm not sure what your age is, so I don't know what your options are. Some people are at an age where they can't go live on their own for one reason or another. Um, Life is hard. There's no doubt about it. Just try and maintain as positive an outlook as you can, and know that one thing is certain: things always change. So you'll get through it. It may not be easy, and it certainly won't be fun, but you can survive it and then come out the other side and be a stronger person and maybe help other people in a similar situation. But I would talk to, I don't know, mental health or family services, or, some organization that's out there that's supposed to help with situations at home. Or, like I said, a friend that isn't so judgmental, that maybe you can spend some time with while you're figuring this out. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Violet says, I think with repeated LBRP practice, it may come to me. Any extra thoughts? Like, I cannot imagine making contracts with entities. How does that even happen? Well, you don't really want to do that, and it can happen if you're depending upon other beings to do things for you. If you're not asking for them to do something for you, rather than asking them for information so that you can do it for yourself, then, that's where you get into trouble. And there's lots of warnings about that kind of stuff in ceremonial magic because of that. Unintentional contracts with other spirit realms can mean that when you die in this life, you end up having to go to their realm in order to pay back the debt. And if you have done enough stuff for them and you're there long enough, you can actually lose that link to humanity and become one of them, whatever they are, instead of staying a person and coming back here. So, not recommended. The book Psychic Witch is also a fantastic book that will answer all of these questions. Definitely look into it. I'm a witch book reader. Yeah, and Dion Fortune has a book called Psychic Self-Defense that I recommend. She is, one of the older sources of information on the subject. So I definitely recommend her book too. Ty says, it feels like I'm helpless and I don't know what to do. My first instinct was to feel suicidal, but I see the futility of that, and I'm feeling more clear and grounded now, but I'm still stuck. Well, if you are feeling suicidal, then they could put you somewhere and get you away from your mother. Or maybe force the family into therapy. I don't know. I don't know for sure what resources you do have available, but maybe there is something in mental health where you can get assistance, some group or whatever that helps with this kind of thing. So, Julia says, one of the keys to feeling stuck is shadow work, 100%. Taylor says, did you raise your children on your practice? My daughter is 2, and I don't know whether to raise her on what I follow or wait until she asks and let her find her own path as she grows. My kids participated in any rituals that I had to do at the time when we celebrated solstices or equinoxes or Beltane or whatever. They went with me. Both of my children are agnostic, I think, agnostic, which I find ironic considering the way I am, but, everyone's different. My daughter is definitely a witch, and so is my granddaughter, and I just never hid it from them. And my daughter always came to me to ask for help when she was in trouble, when she thought that someone was going to come and harm her or my granddaughter or whatever. She would call me up on the phone, and I would give her some spell work, protection thing or whatever to do that would just come out of me, and I know that she did them, and they worked. So she's a practical witch, and she uses the tools and so forth. So, there is something to be said. I mean, if you're following Wicca, which is more of a religion than a practice, than just a practice, that would be different because that's an initiatory thing, and you can't initiate like a 2-year-old into the practice sort of thing. But yeah, my granddaughter first found out I was a witch on Halloween, I think, when she was 6 years old. And she came dressed as a witch, and I told her I was one too, and that they were real witches, and she was like, "What?" So yeah, I just am myself, and that's just sort of the way it is. So Ophelia says, Taylor, I was just thinking about bringing up us mommy witches. My son is 3, and he doesn't know all the ins and outs, but I have raised him in the magic way. And Ophelia says he loves leaving offerings and helping me set up my spells. Yeah, and I think that my granddaughter made her first wand when she was a teenager. So, Desideratum in California, we can call 211 when we need help with connecting to support services. Maybe Ty can find something like that wherever they are. I think you can also call the police non-emergency too. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not sure what the resources are that are available for you. But I'm certainly hopeful that there are some. Burr says, at one point I decided magic wasn't real. I'm still doing the shadow work on that experience, but I've never again seen the strange things I used to. Once I saw a bird fly by my window outlined in silvery blue electricity, and I thought it was otherwise transparent. Any idea what might that have been? Well, you could have been seeing the energetic field around the bird, or you could have been seeing a spirit that took the form of a bird so that you could see it. Taylor says, I'm not Wiccan, so that makes it easier. You are a blessing. Really, thank you. You're welcome. Juan says, hi, good evening all. Good evening. April says, I definitely understand being feared and rejected. I also had my sensitivity thrown in my face as an insult very often. Grounding is something I am still working on personally. Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I have had any number of partners in the past who would be mean and say horrible things to me and make me cry and be upset and then claim that I was too sensitive. I thought about that one day, and I declared that the problem was that they weren't sensitive enough, and I stand by that. It's not a matter of us being too sensitive. It's about other people not paying attention and not caring about how other people feel. It's just a terrible thing. They need more people like us, that's all I can say, who actually genuinely care about others. But, you know, it's a process we're all going through, and some of us make it farther than others, and I certainly haven't had an easy time of it. But I was thinking about the fact that that's when I did the last video on it's nothing personal. It's because life is like that. All of us have got these challenges that we have to meet, whether it's, you know, basic physical challenges or emotional challenges, relationship challenges, whatever they happen to be. Life isn't just set up conveniently. It's not going to just roll out and everything's going to be perfect and there's no conflict. We don't learn without conflict, apparently. And what we need to learn is how to deal with the conflict, embrace it, and figure out paths to go through it. So whenever you feel stuck, like there's no options, you need to sit down and look and realize that no matter what's happening, there are always some options. And then you have to go out and find what they are, and decide which way to try. And if it doesn't work, try a different way. It's like we should never be completely and totally committed to our path to the point where we refuse to try any other method just because we decided this one thing. It's life is in flux all the time, and it's dangerous out there, especially right now. All kinds of danger, terrible things. So Ty says, unfortunately, I'm 20 and am undocumented immigrant. Oh boy, that makes it difficult. So I don't have many options, but I'm going to reach out to some friends and try to find a room to rent. Okay, well, we're going to send you some positive energy that will happen and that you'll get into a good situation and so forth. And hopefully with the change in administration, there will be a path to citizenship, so you don't have to worry about that either. Netia says, hello, greetings from Germany. I love your channel. Thank you very much. And I'm happy that you're here. Ophelia says, I love what you just said. We're not too sensitive. The world needs more empaths. Yes, they do. So Ty says, the issue is due to my immigration status. I can't drive, so I need to find a place walking distance from my job. But at least I am employed, so it's not completely hopeless. The challenges that we have in lives. Any winter solstice magical ideas? Well, this winter solstice, I'm going to be participating in a ritual with a friend of mine who just got a divorce, and she's going to be doing a renewal transformation ritual for herself using the Ereshkigal Inanna myth, going down into the underworld and reclaiming her power and coming back up. So that's what I'm going to be doing with her. And I think that's perfectly good thing to do. So, you know, we're not having big family gatherings or anything like that. Although in the past, I've really enjoyed the years where I had a wonderful solstice and didn't notice Christmas at all. It just sort of came and went. And then I realized, oh yeah, they had Christmas, didn't they? And those were very good days when I was first trying to transform my inner landscape with stuff. So, it's been a little over an hour. It's about an hour and 20 minutes at the moment. Almost. And I don't want to overdo it this first time. So if you have any questions, ask them now, because I'm going to leave at an hour and a half. So we've got like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go. So if you want to get anything else in here, now would be the time. And I started working on the witch's balls. I've made a couple. And I'm doing some research with the ingredients that I have. And so I'm hoping to do that video this coming week and have enough stuff together to actually make it worthwhile. I'm rather enjoying the positive witch's balls. And actually the first one I made, I gave to Ian to put in his room to help him with all the stuff going on with his sister and that kind of thing. So. So thank you so much for giving yourself to us. It really is nice of you. So nice. You're welcome. And I think I'm really lucky that I have a partner. Like, literally was just typing a question about witches' balls. Well, we're going to do a whole video on witches' balls, so yay. Yeah, I know. My synchronicity is so strong some days. I had that happen a lot when I was in the prison working with the guys. And I would just launch into some kind of an explanation about something, and then I'd stop and I go like, okay, so any questions? And the one guy looked at me and says, you just answered every question I had when I came in here. And I'm like, okay, good. Let's go on to something else. But yeah, synchronicity, passive telepathic communication, etc. happens a lot with my husband especially. On a less heavy note, lately I have the impression that everyone around me is omniscient. And it makes me feel really self-conscious about thinking in public. So you think they're picking up on your thought forms, huh? Well, maybe they are. I don't know. But it could just be that you're aware of what they're saying and how it applies to you. I can't read that. My eyes aren't working. Something, Nertia. I have a question. I'm really into astral projection. I tried doing it twice, both on the full moon a month ago. I didn't astral project, but I had really scary knocking and someone trying to force my head on my pillow. Okay, well, it sounds like you shouldn't be trying astral projection at the moment if you're having that kind of a negative encounter with something that is pushing on you. So you either got some inner fears about it, or you're going about it in a way that is not safe for you. So if you're going to try that, I would definitely cast an active circle around yourself and call on your higher spirit, guardian, or whatever to be there with you when you do it for protection, because you don't want to have that kind of stuff happen. It's going to discourage you anyway. I'm praying you heal completely right away. Yeah, I'm definitely getting better. Ophelia says, and yes, you truly are magical. More people need to be listening to you. You have the power to change so much. I think of you quite often, and I think you're an angel. Well, aren't you sweet? I appreciate that. I know there's times when I make a video and I'm thinking, no one's really going to be interested in this. And then I get some positive feedback and I go like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. So it's always good to know that, it's not just me. So I do too. As a newbie, there are so many rules. My head exploded. No, let's not explode your head. We don't want that. But look, I made this, see? I didn't, I just sort of made it on my own. I needed to make something, so I made my shawl. So, and I like the colors. I think the colors are great. So, yeah, I had to be creative some way or another. I'm starting to work on a new project. Thank you very much for your advice. You really inspire me. Well, we're all in this together, and I think we need to focus on what we have in common more than our differences, and I think that that's part of the whole thing. It's like magic has got like a basis of commonality there that it's good for us to tap into, and our common humanity and so forth. And our differences are great as well, but it's like focusing on just the differences and trying to decide who's right and who's wrong about this and that doesn't seem to serve much of a purpose. Ophelia says, in the beginning it might feel like your head is exploding for sure, but you're going to get this. You are. Di says, I don't want to turn my nose up at the beautiful things in life, but I also don't want to feel like a slave to objects of pleasure. Okay. I guess you don't have to if you don't want to. I mean, that is up to you. I think beauty is a wonderful thing. Nature has got beauty all over the place, so there's nothing wrong with making beautiful things. Violet says, my mom made a blanket of the same colors of yarn like that. It's one of the most precious things I own. Truly, I wrap up in mom. Caught the live. Greetings all. And just at the end, before we're ready to go, I'm so sorry. We started just before 2 o'clock and it's going to be finishing soon. Ty says, it's like when I'm at work, every time I find myself having a sensual thought, if anything of that nature, the kitchen staff will start like wolf whistling and cheering. Huh. All right. Well, you certainly don't want to be the object of that kind of thing, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't. I would be annoyed. So, magical symbols for fabric projects would be great to talk about next time. Well, I have a few things that I've been making, but they're going to take a long time to make. I will watch later. Yes, because we started a while back, and we've had all kinds of fun conversations in here for sure. So, yeah, with the weird stuff that happened when I was sick, the thing with the picture was just so odd with the flashing black and white image, lights, and turning into that photograph of when I was little. I was trying to remember some childhood memories, and I forgot to bring this in. I'll have to show you guys the picture I found of me. This is something I recommend actually, and was recommended to me when I was going into therapy for in the incest survivors group, was to find a picture of myself before people did terrible things to me. And I have a picture of me as an infant, probably about 3 or 4 months, because I could sit up, and I was sitting in a tub, one of those little porcelain tubs, and my mother apparently was giving me a bath, and I was splashing the water, and I have this most impish look on my face that's just absolutely delightful. And I used that picture to help me get back to my essential self. And that's the thing, it's like we're not born with all this crud and crap and everything else that we experience as we go through life. We're born as this pure spirit with this essential self that's there. And part of the path of magic for me is getting back to that essential self. And so I actually took a picture of my picture when I found it, and I put it as my screensaver on my phone. So every time I look at my phone, I'm looking at a picture of me when I was little, and that impish look on my face. And I've seen that look in my grandson's face more than once. I recognized it immediately, and I thought that was pretty cool, that there was this delight, just this little delight thing that was there. And to reclaim that it's people that mess us up, in my opinion, and all of the projections that people have, and them trying to jockey for position, and you know, jockey for not just position, but for affection or for attention or whatever it might be that they think they need, and that's what messes the thing up, messes us up, especially us sensitive types, because we're trying to always figure out what it is that someone else wants and needs, and trying to figure out how to give it to them so that they stop doing whatever it is that they're doing. That was one of the things I tried to do a lot as an empath. So, okay, so if you're feeling like you don't have privacy in your own mind, yeah, try warding and aura strengthening. You can actually use something like you can use like a piece of tiger eye to reflect their energy away from you, so that you can have more privacy, and that can help a lot. And then learning how to control your own energy and your own mind and stuff like that, practicing the shielding, the grounding exercise that's got the shielding with it can help a lot too. That's one of those things that can work. And so Ty says, I'm an incest survivor too. As you were speaking about childhood experiences, I tried to avoid mine, and then you immediately called out what I was avoiding. I'm sorry. You're a powerful channel of light. I'm impressed. Well, things suck. Some terrible things happened and they sucked. And claiming your power back is definitely not a simple, straightforward process, but it's what we're here to do. If we're going to get it right, I guess, is to be ourselves and claim our power back. I've certainly had my share of those experiences, and yes. So, okay, I guess it's about time for me to go at this point. And if you need to talk about anything, feel free to send me a message. My email is shifrasmagicalcove@gmail.com, and it should be up on the list somewhere as far as what that is and what that goes as. And yeah, shadow work is difficult, especially when you have a lot of shadows to deal with. And we had more than our share. It's not a good thing to have. So guys, I guess I'm going to go, guys, and I appreciate you all being here, and I managed to survive, and my voice didn't go away, and I'm continuing to improve and getting healthier, and hopefully by next week I'll be all back to normal. That's what I'm going for, to get back to my usual energetic self. So I enjoyed it as usual. So bye, guys. Blessed be.